Hey, what is up, Illinois Student Ministries? Earlier today, I had the honor and the privilege to interview our National Youth Director, Josh Wellborn. It was just a phenomenal interview. Man, he just gave us some really great tidbits of information, things that we can do during this pandemic, things that we can do after the pandemic to just kind of readjust into youth ministry life again. And not only that, but he gave us some inspiration for the National Give Day as well. I really hope you enjoy this incredible interview with our National Youth Director, Josh Wellborn. Hey, what is up, Illinois Student Ministries? You have made it to episode 9 of the ISM Show, and we are super excited to have you guys with us. And I am also really excited to have our National Youth Director, Josh Wellborn, with us, who might be one of the most handsome leaders that we have in the nation. And I got to tell you, not only is he very handsome, he's also very tall. He's also very wise, and he is just a great leader. I respect him a whole lot, and we are so excited to have him with us, just kind of kicking back and relaxing with all of you here in Illinois Student Ministries. Josh, how you doing, man?
Can I just have you introduce me at everything I speak at?
Well, absolutely. Yeah. That's major royalties to Speed the Light, though. I just want you to know that. Introductions like that don't come cheap.
Okay, you're a smart man. I'm good. Thank you for having me on the show. I'm honored to be here.
Has your family been doing okay during the whole pandemic and the whole lockdown thing?
Yeah. We now the tension is we like being together as a family, but are we supposed to like it every second of every day? Like, is that required?
Yeah, right. Like, are you guys hitting the limit? Right. It was cute. It was cute a month ago. Now it's not as cute anymore. Right. Like, I think we're all there right now.
Yeah. I'm asking other districts if I can send my kids to their camp. Like, can we just, anybody who's having camp, will you take my children?
Yeah. That's, what is it? 3 of us now? I think you have 3 options, right? Right. You got Indiana, Nebraska, probably Alaska, because, why not? Montana's doing it. Oh, awesome. That's such good news. Like, yes, thank God that some of you are still able to have camp. Like, there's still hope out there. And I know that our students are so sad that we weren't able to have camp this year because of everything that's going on. And, we're in this weird kind of like transition mode where youth pastors, especially in the state of Illinois, Josh, I don't know if you know, like, just our politics out here, or if you know, like, just how strict Illinois is with their social distancing guidelines. And really, you can think what you want to think about that, but it limits us in really, really specific ways. So this season that we're in right now is youth pastors trying to figure out, like, okay, all of my students are done with these virtual face-to-face meetings. They're done on Zoom. They're done on Instagram Live. They want to be with actual people in an actual physical place right now. But in Illinois, we can't have more than like 10 people together at the same time. So what do we do? Right? So for our youth pastors and for our students, Josh, what do you think, like, post-corona youth ministry is going to look like?
Yeah, well, one of the good things that I hope youth pastors recognized is that being forced into the virtual space exposed all of us for the level of relationship we already possessed in advance of a quarantine. So, for instance, the church pastor who had good relational equity with his congregation transitioned into the digital space with relative ease. Like, it was hard for everybody, but the guy or the woman, whatever, who had a good relationship with their congregation or their youth ministry was able to get on Zoom, on Twitch, on Discord, or, you name your platform. And his students that he was close with were there. The youth pastor who was the high five preaching youth pastor, in other words, his relationship with the students was kind of limited to just giving high fives before and after service. And I'm not suggesting that that's a bad model. That guy probably has a team of leaders who are very relational, and then he leads the team, and that's not a terrible model. We've seen that a lot, particularly in megachurches.
Sure.
That youth pastor discovered that he didn't have as much relational equity as he thought he did because not as many of those students that he just had the high five relationship with showed up. So what I'm hoping happens is that across the fellowship and really across the evangelical world, across the youth ministry world, is that youth pastors really are forced into a corner where they brutally evaluate their ability to connect relationally with students. Now, I'm saying that as a youth pastor and a parent of 2 teenage boys who desperately need relationship with a spiritual leader that's not me.
Yeah.
Like they've got a good relationship with me, but at 14, 15, 16 years old, they want to know, how else can I live this life? Because I kind of get how my dad does it, and that's not my favorite way. They'll come back to it when they're 20, 21, 22. Right. But in the meantime, they need spiritual leaders that are showing them, how do I serve Jesus? And that only happens. In genuine, real relationships. So I'm hoping the post-COVID world looks like, if we lose at relationship, we lose.
Yeah, that's really good. And so what you were talking about, you said, you mentioned this phrase a couple of times. You were saying relational equity. I think that's so key. I think that's so important. Josh, can you break that down? What is relational equity? What does good relational equity look like from the youth pastor, from the leader, from even the student leaders who are watching this, who are on their youth pastors' teams? What does good relational equity look like, practically speaking, on the youth ministry level?
Well, practically speaking, I think it means knowing names.
Yep, that's good. Hey, you.
Hey, buddy. Hey, pal. Hey, partner.
Buddy.
Yeah. I think it means knowing names. And for those who are, I think there's some leaders that are they're highly detailed, they're highly organized. They want to have measurables. Yeah. And so, one of our measurables for a retreat would have been, we want 80% of the youth ministry to go on the retreat. Now, the guys that are writing textbooks about this stuff in youth ministry, they're saying, hey, if you can get 20% to go to camp or to go to your retreat, well, we wanted 80% because we wanted to know that there was a relational buy-in, maybe not just with me as the youth pastor, but with the leaders. So my rule with having relational face-to-face with students, one, I would chase the students who were there. So they're there for everything. You know how there's that group in every youth group, and
absolutely.
And maybe in some youth ministries, it's just one kid and it's the pastor's kid.
Right.
You go after that kid because he's there.
Yeah.
Right? He shows up for your stuff. And then beyond that, there will be students that the Lord won't let you forget about because they're on your heart. They're the ones you wake up and you're thinking about them, wondering what they're doing. They're the ones that when you've got an afternoon free, you say, man, I should take somebody out for a milkshake or something. And then you think of them. And so I would say names, how many names do you know? Can you name 12 students in your youth ministry? And to some listening right now, they're like, that's ridiculous. Everybody should. And I'm telling you, I travel around. Not every youth pastor can do that.
No.
So if you can, you're one of the good ones. You're doing, give yourself a good grade.
Well done.
And if you can't, it doesn't mean you're one of the bad ones. It just means that that's an area you need to improve in, because you're probably amazing at something else, but you need to be amazing at this if you want to win in the post-COVID world.
That's so good. And I think that's something that a lot of our youth pastors and our student leaders can walk away from. And I really loved what you said, because I think a lot of our modern leaders don't focus on the core kids who are already there, because I think in their mind, they're like, well, they're already there. Right. And that's a mistake. One of the things I've always told our leaders is that it's so much easier to disciple leadership into kids who are consistent than it is to disciple consistency into kids who you want to become leaders.
Write that one down. That's good.
Well, and it's so true. And I mean, I think that's just from experience, right? We're always looking for the kingpins at the high school. We're always looking for the kids who are just the natural leaders. But to try and disciple consistency into that person before you have discipled leadership into the kids who are already consistent, well, you're trying to build your youth ministry from the top down, and it'll just end up crumbling that way. So what would you say to students in this post-COVID era? Because I think we have a lot of students that are out there right now, and they're just kind of they're kind of in like this holding pattern. That's what I've seen in Illinois, at least, right? They're waiting for their youth pastor to say, this is when we meet again. This is when we're going to minister again. And one of the things we're trying to do is we're trying to shake up our students and be like, hey, guess what? You're the youth ministry too. So you publish your faith, you help out. What are some practical things that students can do on the student level to help get their youth ministries back into the swing again? Not necessarily normalcy, but like back into like some like level of effectiveness again.
Well, if we're talking to the church kids, I think this is a great time to really examine the heart of Jesus. Like what does it mean to be a Christ follower? Because what it means to be a Christ follower in quarantine is probably a better context for answering what it means to be a Christ follower than it did before for the kid who attended a youth group. Because a lot of our students would equate being a Christ follower with their attendance and their involvement, and not bad things, by the way. That's like you're in healthy youth ministries, usually your consistent attendance translates into serving, and that's great. Like that's to me, that's a great graduated scale. You're here, you're worshiping Jesus, you're hearing the word of God. Now, what can you do for others? Well, we can serve, and we can clean up, and we can make a way for people to hear about the gospel. Okay, that's really good. Now, what can we do to reach the lost? Right? Like there's a graduated scale of, in doing that, we're following the Jesus model in the New Testament that goes from, sort of this God changed me, and then at the end of it, I'm going to tell you how God can change you through Jesus Christ. And so, that's how they might have answered it before. During the quarantine, like the conversation around Black Lives Matter, how would Jesus view this, is a wonderful way to get a teenager to contextualize the relevance of the gospel to the oppressed. Like, we know that Jesus forgives sin. Like, that's the major narrative in every church that wants to see people come to Christ. Like, we know that Jesus can forgive your sin. Well, what about this? What if someone sinned against me? Well, what if I'm the oppressed? And that's not to say that we're not all sinners. We are. But what if I'm not saved and I am a victim of systemic racism? What if I've been beat up by the police when I was 15 years old and I reject all authority because of it? What does the gospel mean to me then? Like, I don't need Jesus to forgive my sins. It'll come later, right? Right? Like, even the person who's a victim, the Holy Spirit will eventually bring them to a place where they recognize their own sin, and therein we have this miracle of the gospel. But sometimes it has to start with the gospel to the oppressed means justice. Yeah. The gospel to the oppressed means you have value regardless of the systemic unfairness that's been dealt you, whether it's racial or you're in a casteist socioeconomic losing situation that wasn't your fault, whether you're white or black or whatever your racial identity would be. And so I love this idea of being able to identify. So you asked a simple question, and I've gone way too far with this one.
This is so good.
But I just love that right now we're really having to answer the question for our teenagers: what does Jesus mean to me? He means he has a plan for your life. Like, it means we pray about everything, including who to vote for and how do we, like, I don't know that we're going to find a solution for racism in America outside of a miracle, but I believe miracles, and that's the good news. So the humanist politician would hear that statement, will say, no, he's given up. No, I haven't given up. I just know that my hope is not in policy. I want good policies, but those policies are going to come when the Holy Spirit inspires them. And guess what? The good news is God makes it rain on the righteous and the unrighteous. So just because you're not a Christian politician, God can use you too. So I think these are questions or I think these are realities that we can celebrate with our students.
We have an incredible opportunity to be agents of hope, students, and we're going to talk about this, shifting kind of like to what's happening on June 30th. We are going to be participating in this incredible national movement called the National Give Day, where we're going to be challenging students all over the nation. In Illinois Student Ministries, you guys have been seeing this like crazy over the last month. We're going to be challenging you guys on June 30th to be giving to speed the light. And here's why we're challenging you to do this. And I understand the tension that exists, right? Like, oh my gosh, the economy is crap right now. Maybe mom or dad are out of work. Maybe it feels kind of gross to ask people for money in this season. And I want to challenge those narratives, and I want to challenge that tension, because for so long, like literally, it feels like 2020 has put us all in life-preserving mode, right? We've all been sitting in our houses, we've all been staying safe, and now we're going out and we're wearing our masks, and we're making sure that everybody is staying home and staying safe and socially distanced. Why? So that we can preserve life. Well, Christians have never been in the business of life preservation, but we have been in the business of life giving. And so what we need to do through Speed the Light is switch from life preserving mode to life giving mode, so that we can show the hope that exists in Jesus Christ. And I know one of the things that we're going to be giving to, Josh, in Illinois Student Ministries is World Serve International. We want people that do not have access to clean drinking water to have access to clean drinking water. We look at the coronavirus statistics, where maybe a couple hundred people or a couple thousand people in our nation are dying every day through this pandemic. Well, I got a news flash for you. 2,000 children every single day are dying because they don't have access to clean drinking water. Water that's dirtier than the water that exists like in your toilet is what these people are drinking. And so we can change that. And not only can we provide clean drinking water, we can provide the living water of Jesus Christ. So how excited are you for the National Give Day? Can you just like wax eloquent on that for us for a little bit?
Yeah, well, gosh, I think you said it very, very well. I think that fundamentally, I believe in the principle of the harvest.
Yeah.
You reap what you sow. And so with that comes some other things. It means recognizing the season that you're in. Now, for the last 5 years, it's been a season of abundance. You know, you can see that in the NASDAQ, you can see it on the stock exchange, you can see it in the local businesses, maybe in your community, you can see it in your 401k. It's not a season of harvest right now.
Right.
So what is it? It's a season of sowing. And fundamentally, I believe that your time of greatest need is your time to practice generosity to a greater degree than you perceive your need to be.
Yeah.
And so this is a great opportunity for us to respond in a very biblical way to what's happening in our world. There's a lot of fear, so we respond with boldness. There's an attitude of lack, poverty even, where we can respond with generosity. There's a lot of, like you said, self-preserving, like how do I take care of myself and my family, and how do I posture? Maybe there's an opportunity in the recession that I can, exploit. That's not that you shouldn't look for business opportunities. Sure, that's fine, that's great. But the posture of your heart should be directed toward others, because that's a Christ-like response. So that's all I would add to that. And you're right. The news talks about thousands dying from coronavirus. That's what people want to watch. And the idea that there are thousands dying from lack of clean water and sanitation, that's not as popular of a narrative, but no. It's very, very real. And again, with organizations like Speed the Light partnering with World Serve, they're not just going to be presented with clean water, they're going to be presented with living water. And those wells that Illinois is going to pay for, those are going to be in communities tethered to the local Assembly of God Church.
Amen. Yep.
So it's very exciting.
Yeah, and we're super excited about it too, Josh. I mean, we really are. And students, I'm going to be talking to you for just 30 seconds here really quickly. On June 30th, we will be posting a link on all of our social media. So you will have access to this. Literally, you will see it everywhere. You will not be able to look at your phone without seeing this link, all right? So I don't want any messages directed to our office. Where do I go? Just look, right? It's going to be there for you. You click on this link and you answer a few questions, and then there's going to be a way for you to give. If you don't feel comfortable giving online, that's fantastic. Talk to your youth pastor, talk to your pastor. They can send a check to the district, and we can earmark it for the National Give Day. But here's what I want from you. Look, whatever we raise is what we raise. the thing that I'm really interested in is raising givers. I want to see a lot of us giving. I want to see a record amount of givers coming from Illinois, because if we raise up givers, we know that the giving will naturally come. Yes, we want your money so that we can give it to missionaries so that they can practically reach people with the gospel of Jesus Christ. But what I also want us to see, and I'm going to speak to you who are juniors and seniors, I want to see you older Christians who have had a heart for Speed the Light for so long in this district to start to raise up the next generation of givers, those junior hires who can only give $5, $10, $1, 50 cents. They decided not to buy that Monster Energy drink right before youth service, but instead they're going to give it to Speed the Light. Like, we need you to start those conversations. We need you to start those avenues of discipleship in this next generation, because we are trying to raise up givers, and this is going to be an incredible time for you to tether with some of these kids and to give yourself and to challenge 2 or 3 other kids in your youth ministry to do the same. This is a lot of what we're seeing right now, and we're super excited about it. Josh, man, we just want to say thank you from the bottom of our heart. Really appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule, and we know that you're incredibly busy right now, but the fact that you took time out of your busy schedule to just speak to the students in Illinois, right? It really means a lot to us, and so we just want to honor you. We just thank you so much for your leadership. We know that you are doing just a phenomenal job in the position that you are in, and we have 100% got your back. We love you, and we hope you and the family stay safe and stay sane during the rest of 2020.
Yes. Yeah. Well, thanks for having me on here. And I would just, as a closing comment, if you'll allow it, is just, of all the restrictions that have been put on, Illinois, the United States, and various counties and communities, there is nothing that has been taken away from us that does not allow us to continue to be the New Testament church.
Amen.
And so I can just say that as a word of encouragement. Like, there are ways of doing church that are ancient that we haven't practiced in a while. There are also ways of doing church. I think I'm quoting Mark Batterson here. There's ways of doing church no one's even thought of yet.
And that's your bag, students. Start dreaming up ways of doing church that nobody has thought of yet, or maybe people have just been a little too uncomfortable to try, right? And students, if your generation is leading the way at speaking out against injustice and not allowing things to remain status quo, shouldn't your responsibility to who Christ is and what he has done motivate you and compel you through love to dream of new ways to get the gospel to people? We love you guys so much. Josh, thank you so much for being a part of the ISM show. Hey, remember, students, you can check us out on all of your favorite platforms: Facebook, YouTube. We are on Spotify, and we are on Apple Podcasts, as well as 100 different other streaming services. So make sure you like us on all of those, follow us, and we're going to keep bringing you the latest and greatest. Thanks so much, Josh. Appreciate you, man.